First up in the tool review, let's talk about this hunk of iron. This is an Oliver 166 BD. BD meaning 12-inch cutter head width. As per the manual from the 40s, this shows you they gave options BD up to FD, 12 to 30 inches wide. So lots to like about this machine. It's just kind of at the outset, to me, it's pretty sexy. It's got good lines. It's like, you know, something about this rectangular base. I don't know. It just really appeals to me. I remember from the first time I saw one, I kind of always wanted one, and then the opportunity came one day, and it was thankfully it was a good deal, but it was hard to resist. As far as the specs, this is a 3-phase machine. It's a 5 horsepower direct drive motor, meaning that there are no belts or anything. This motor is here directly connected to the cutter head. The cutter head itself, this is a modern option. So it's a terminus head. You can see there, 12-inch, like I said. It's terminus and tersa are basically interchangeable, or not interchangeable, but very similar in quality and technologies. The knives, you know, index in the head there for height. They slide out the side. You know, if you want to replace them, you just slide in a new set. They're reversible. You can get a couple different grades of high-speed steel. You can get carbide, so that's super convenient, and they're, you know, self-referencing in the head. So obvious advantages with that to setting like an old, you know, an older 3 or 4 knife cutter head, and the cut quality is top notch. I mean, I can't imagine it being better, and I have used plenty of helical head things, and really I prefer this in general. That's a personal preference, but that is my personal preference. So some of the good, the age of this thing, it's a 1940 machine, the best I can tell, referenced off of comparing other serial numbers on vintagemachinery.org. They've got a big database there, that tons of information there, and at owwm.org for these types of machines. So check that out if you're interested. So as far as pluses, it's really all pluses except for kind of one thing I'll get to that is a bit of a complication sometimes, but loads of power. 5 horsepower on a direct drive 12-inch machine is like more than enough. Has never needed more power with this machine. It's very heavy, no vibrations, holds its settings, pretty straightforward to set up in general. It weighs about 2,000 pounds, so it of course presents a bit of a challenge in moving it, but that's kind of comes with the territory. The long beds are amazing. That's really kind of what this is about. Aside, you know, there's other factors, of course, but having long beds is a huge deal to me, especially like building things like doors or parts for a bed, or, you know, something like that. Tabletop parts. It's very handy to have long beds. I think that it's about 100 inches from here to the other end there. The fence is pretty cool in that has these 2 studs here, and then these kind of elongated mounts to where you obviously can slide in and out, but you can also skew and cut, like, you know, change your angle attack to be skewed to deal with challenging grains, especially if you have to edge joint like against the grain for whatever reason. It's pretty handy for that. Obviously tilts, but I keep it set. This fence, one regrettable thing about this fence is that it is bowed along the length, you know, like this. About a 30-second, kind of in the middle of the outfeed, which it's a minor annoyance, but in practical use, it doesn't actually affect anything. More kind of annoys me than anything. It's got these cool little oil cups here for bearing lubrication. Unfortunately, it's supposed to have one here and one, well, right there. But someone changed that one out for like a grease fitting. I would one day like to change that back, source the parts. Pretty sure you can still get these. You know, clean up the old grease and put that oil cup back on the backside as well. Use this little cool oil pump to keep everything lubricated. What else? Oh, okay, so the other kind of modern feature of this is it's on a VFD, variable frequency drive, for a couple reasons. Phase conversion. This was the first 3-phase machine I got. It was in 2018, so four years ago or so. Did not have a phase converter set up or rotary phase or anything at that time. So got this drive from Jack Forsberg, Jack English Machine. I'll probably tag him in the post or something. He sells VFDs and offers some tech support. It's a good way to go. There's lots of options out there, but Jack's a good way to get into this and can kind of walk you through it. So what that does is obviously converts 220 single phase into the VFD, outputs 220 volt 3-phase to this control, and gives me speed control, which I use occasionally, but that's kind of minor on a joiner. But the big thing is you can program this to have an electronic brake to stop the cutter head. So I can stop this cutter head in about 7 seconds or so. I'll turn it on here and just show you how that works. If I did not have that, you know, if this were just in its natural state without a brake, it's like 3 to 5 minutes of just like coasting, you know, which is, I mean, in a one-person shop, not a huge deal, but could be somewhat of a safety hazard, especially if you're going back and forth or like, you know, moving between machines and not really thinking about that thing spinning. There's a guard, but it's just nice to know that it can stop reasonably quickly. So I'll turn it on. Those are hertz. It's obviously set for 60 hertz. So that's helpful. That's, you know, kind of ideal for me, really. I do think these joiners maybe came with a brake, you know, like an actual, I don't know, there's maybe a rotor and a disc or something somewhere up there. I'm not sure, but this one does not. So let's get to the only thing I don't really like about this machine is that it really requires, so the base is a double-edged sword. It's sexy, but it requires that your mounting points or your points of contact with the floor be coplanar, essentially, you know, and or level ideally, but at the very least coplanar and close to level, so that you can introduce, what can happen is you can introduce twist into this base, because there's, you know, kind of 4 mounting points for each table. You know, at the corner of each table is a mounting point and a way to raise and lower this to set your, you know, your bed coplanarness. And if you put this on a wonky floor, you know, that's doing this, as you go down, you can introduce twist into this base, and then trying to adjust everything up from that is unreliable and kind of a nightmare. If you can sort out how to get everything either like dead level or coplanar from the floor up, that makes your life easy. So I guess I'd call that a disadvantage in the sense of the design does not lend itself well to like an uneven floor. You definitely have to pay attention to that. The way I have it now is, it doesn't look great, but it's actually shimmed to be coplanar with like plywood, and there's washers under there. There's like composite shims. One of the upgrades I would like to do that I've kind of put in the cart before and then just taken out because it's a few $100 is to get some really nice threaded machine leveling feet, you know, that mount in here and then have a big, you know, kind of pad underneath where it's on a threaded rod, and you can really dial that in, you know, eliminate any sort of shims, and like that is the mounting point. McMaster-Carr has some nice ones. I want to say it was like $200 or $300 the last time to outfit for that. Other than that, and replacing that grease fitting. I don't know that I'd do anything to this machine other than, you know, if for some reason a wider one came across my lap for a great deal, then I would maybe consider passing this on and going with that. But I don't know, 12 inches is pretty much wide enough for most of what I do. 16 would probably be ideal, and I don't know that I'd ever complain about that. There have been a few times where this would have been nicer to be wider, but you know, it's a great machine and pretty workable. You know, and you can lose this guard fairly easily, and, you know, obviously flatten wider than the cutter head and work with that, or you can deal with shimming your planer or whatever. So let's talk about cost and purchasing for people interested who are maybe trying to get into something like this. I bought this machine 4 years ago. Yeah, it was the fall of 2018. It actually came from the Penland School of Crafts. I'm in Penland, North Carolina, so it's still got the sticker there. They upgraded, I use quotes there, they upgraded to a new helical head Powermatic machine. I think it was like a 15 or 16 inch machine. I think it was for safety reasons or apparent safety reasons. This machine came to me for a very good deal, extremely good deal. It's really kind of the only way I was able to make it work, but it was the right time, right place sort of thing. Never really thought I'd be able to get into something like this, and it opened up kind of a wider world of three-phase machines for me. But typically these days, I see these machines like a 12-inch for like the I'm just going to say 2,000 to 4,000 range. 4,000 would be pushing it for a 12-inch machine, but I have seen them listed for that. In terms of sales, probably not, but 2 to 3, maybe pushing 4, depending on condition. This one is all original paint. I've really haven't done anything. Obviously, it's got the cutter head in it, which is a huge upgrade for me. The cutter head costs more than what I paid for the machine, honestly, if I would have had to replace it. So, you know, they're out there for that range. I would say that other machines that are comparable are like Yates. I'm just going to name brands and not models. Yates, American, Porter, Newman, Northfield, that J. Fay and Egan, that sort of class of old machines are basically equal to this, you know, in terms of build quality. One thing I will say about those other designs, if it's a three-toed design, you know, where you've got, like, say, I can't remember if it's 2 in the front and 1 in the back or whatever, but it's a three-toed point of contact where you have a lot easier time adjusting those. They don't have the same flaw or the same challenge of getting the floor just so. Yeah, so that's the 166. You know, I'm super happy with this machine. It's does everything I want. The only thing I could say is, you know, if a wire one were to come across my plate for a stupid deal, then I would certainly consider it. But, you know, this may be my forever joiner, and I'm completely okay with that. So if you guys have any questions or anything else I want to didn't address and you want to talk about, just shout it in the comments. Yeah, Oliver kind of has a reputation in a way of, like, you know, being some level of desirable among the old woodworking machinery crowd. You know, I don't know that I buy that more than any other of them. They're all pretty equal in terms of that, but this model is certainly kind of iconic, and for good reason, if you ask me. Like, I would, it's a great machine. Let's put it that way. And I get a smile on my face every time I use it. So yeah, hope this helps. I'm going to do some more of these reviews. I'm going to call it a real talk review, because it's me talking for real about what it's actually like to use these old machines. The next one I'm going to do is probably this planer. It's a 20-inch SCM S50, also 3-phase. We can get into how I came across this one and what I like about it and all that. Anyway, thanks for checking it out.